Hey everyone, this is Patricia Roebuck. I am excited to finally start altering and doing something with the cover of my brand new Bible journal that I got for my birthday back in June. I wanted one with white pages and a little bit bigger margins. So I'm excited to finally dig in. The only thing I've added there are the tabs that I watercolored and adhered to the pages for the books of the Bible. Okay, so my idea for my cover is to first use a dry brush. It's not wet at all, doesn't have paint, doesn't have water, and I'm going to start adding some white paint, white brush strokes vertically along this. And this is one of those things where you don't get a redo. So you don't know how it's going to do. You kind of have a general idea maybe. Being that this cover is fabric, it's definitely taking in that paint very quickly wherever I put it. So it doesn't spread too much, or not as much as what I was hoping it would, but I'm still able to kind of move the paintbrush a little further down and get a little bit more paint to kind of come down the length of the Bible. I don't want it to cover the whole way. Now, if you're not familiar with using your paint brushes and paint like this, just be sure, like I have that little cup of water, always put your brushes in water right away. You don't want that paint to dry on your brushes. It will ruin them. It will be very hard to get it out once it dries. Okay. Oh, okay. I was very nervous to do this because, like I said, there's no redo. I can't get another piece of paper, another background. This is it. So I used a box. I'm using my Misty tool. I added a little study guide underneath my Bible. I'm trying to get both of these leveled. I need to use my Misty tool, and I'm trying to rig it in such a way that I can use actually the top of it instead of the underneath of it as it's intended to be used, because I'm going to need to restamp. I want red ink with the brand new Elle Studios Good Time stamp, but I want to emboss it. So I need a stamp in dye-based ink, and I don't know how that's going to take. It's probably going to absorb really well, as you'll see in a little bit. And then I want to do some embossing, clear embossing, to add a little bit of shine and make sure that that dye-based ink does not smear later on. So as I'm doing this, I'm very careful, but I did have to add something underneath that cover to help get a better impression. And there was a little bit of movement. I'm not sure how it came, but I got a little bit of blurry image there. And I think because of where I'm stamping on the Bible, it's just not a completely smooth surface right there. But I'm going to go with this. I can't redo it, and it still comes out wonderful. I'm restamping it again. I want a little bit darker red. And then I'm going to clean that off really well. And now I'm going to use my Versa ink, because now I'm going to do the clear embossing. So I stamp directly on that. I'm going to apply my embossing powder, shake that off, and then I will go ahead and heat set it with my heat gun. Now the heat gun took a long time for it to really get in there. Like I said, this is so different working with a fabric background rather than a cardstock paper background. So it really is good to get that gun nice and hot and then apply it to here. And some areas were a little more subtle than others, but it really did, you'll see later when I add some more stamping, it really did make a difference of making that red come out a little bit more. And having a stamping tool like this and your inks, your different ink colors, and only having, say, a clear embossing powder is a great way to stretch the possibilities of getting different embossing colors, because you can stamp the color and then you can restamp on top to clear emboss it and show the color of your ink. Okay, in one of my projects this month for Elle Studio, I did a lot of masking with this stamp set. So I've saved those masks that I created from Post-it notes, and I'm using it here to stamp on my Bible. These images, the smaller ones that are a little bit further away from the spine, definitely came out so much better. And the other thing that I'm starting to learn and I'm starting to get more comfortable with and not so nervous about stamping on the cover is when I lift up that stamping tool, I immediately put my hand on the bottom of it. As you'll see here, see I hold it. I make sure that it does not move. You don't want any movement on that left side at all. Well, on the right side either. You don't want any movement at all, and that's what's a little tedious about doing something like this. But it really came out great. I'm so glad that I did it. Now, the second circle that I stamped here from that stamp set, I did not do the mask. And admission here, that was a mistake. I didn't intend to do that, but I'm actually glad about that. I like how that looks. I like the interwoven circles, and I just like that whole look. Now, you saw how I heat embossed it. That really, really made it pop more. It really does make a difference to do that in clear embossing on top. Now, this stamp set has some really cool little plus signs. It has a larger and a smaller one. So I'm using Stays On Green ink. I don't want to do any more embossing of any kind. I want ink that I know is going to set and be there permanently. So I'm stamping that randomly along the image that I have stamped already, and then I'm adding one of the heart images just in the center of the larger one. Wasn't sure if I wanted to add more, but I think I just wanted the one. Between the stamp set available this month and this Right Now Life acrylic available this month, those two things really inspired me because I had been trying to decide what do I want to put on the cover of my Bible. And that Life acrylic was like perfect. So I adhered that directly to the cover with art glitter glue. It's not going to budge. Now, I could just leave this as is. It's perfect, but I felt like it really needed just another little texture. So I'm using these gold shapes and dots, puffy stickers, and I'm using that art glitter glue again just to make sure that they adhere really, really well since this is a cover. The last texture that I want to add are paint splatters, but instead of splattering the paint, I'm using my fine tip applicator that has black acrylic paint mixed with airbrush medium. So thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope this inspires you with your Elle Studio September products.